Hello, and welcome to Talk to Downtown. My name is Courtney Wood. I'm the Economic Development Director at the Downtown Stockton Alliance, which is a 501c6 nonprofit property-based business improvement district serving downtown Stockton. This webinar series is intended to connect our business owners, property owners, and visitors with the organizations, people, and resources who can help them address issues of top concern to them. Today, we're going to be talking about downtown real estate, and we have Mahala Burns here as our guest from Cort Companies. Thank you, Mahala. The way that this will work, it will begin with having Mahala go ahead and introduce herself and talk a little bit about what she does at Cort Companies. Then I will go ahead and ask her some questions I've outlined for her. And after that, we will open it up to you, the viewers, to go ahead and type in any questions that you might have. So thank you so much, Mahala, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Cort Companies.
Thank you, Courtney. It's a pleasure talking with you today. So I work for Cort Companies. Cort Companies was started by Dan Cort 35, maybe 40 years ago. And he was a kid coming from San Francisco out to go to college at UOP. And as he traipsed around Stockton, he started to fall in love with the Victorian homes. So while he was still a student, he traded in the pink slip of his Ford Fairlane for a loan from Bank of Stockton to buy one of the Victorians. And that was the start of his purchasing. So for many years, he worked in the Magnolia district, buying Victorian homes, turning them into a variety of different things, finding tenants. And then his first big purchase was Cort Tower downtown. And right around that time is when I met Dan. My husband and I had moved out from the Bay Area, and we lived over by UOP, and we had a young year-and-a-half-old son. And of course, it was a very older neighborhood, not a lot of kids. And I spied a young kid in a yard one day, and turned out it was Dan's son. So they started playing together, and as I talked to Dan, I realized it was a great fit for me, because I grew up in New York City, and to me, the downtown of Stockton is a mini New York. It has the east side, it has the west side, it has the government district, it has the waterfront, and it has all the potential and beautiful buildings that are back east as well. So I was really excited to start working in downtown. My role at the company, I'm a broker, and we're a full service commercial brokerage. We represent buyers and sellers, investors, tenants, government tenants. We also recently opened a residential wing, so we have 3 residential agents as well. So our area of expertise is historic real estate, and we do other types of real estate as well, but we really focus on historic downtown Stockton.
Awesome. That is a great summary of the background of Cort Companies. I actually didn't know that story, so cool story, Mahala. And that gives me a really nice picture of kind of what Dan was thinking about when he was starting the company and your role there as well. So very cool. Thank you, Mahala. So after you decided to join up with Cort Companies, what kind of changes have you seen since that time? And what year was that?
Yeah, this is my 25th year downtown, so time flies. And when I remember year 1 of downtown, it was a pretty bleak picture. There was not a lot going on. There was not a lot of business. None of the things that we love about downtown right now were happening. And Dan was really the one who had the vision of seeing what the potential could be. And he was kind of unafraid to take a risk. And I think his goal was never to own all this property. At one point, he had 2 million square feet of property. His goal was to buy it, find a tenant, fix it up, and sell it. But for 20 of those 25 years, nobody else was buying. It was the only guy downtown that saw the potential. Around 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, there began to be interest from outside of Stockton in the downtown. And sad to say, very little of that interest has come from Stocktonians. It's mostly been people from the Bay Area, from Los Angeles, from Sacramento, from outside of town that saw the potential of downtown Stockton. But then about 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, all of a sudden it started to take off. For so many years, you couldn't give away property in downtown. And then it's like a switch was turned, and all the low-hanging fruit started to get picked off. All the really inexpensive properties were picked off. And now those are pretty much all gone. We're into the larger properties. We're into projects now. 2 years ago really was a turning point where a couple of investors from Los Angeles came up and I said, why are you targeting Stockton? And they said, well, all the indications are that Stockton is the next community to hit big. And so they took a risk. They bought the Waterfront Warehouse and the Crest Building. They've been very happy with their purchases. So, it's been a long dry spell followed by a lot of activity. This January, I thought Stockton has finally hit the sweet spot. Everywhere else has been built up, leased up, the property values have skyrocketed. Stockton is still under market, undervalued, and it looked like downtown Stockton was about to just take off. And then, we went through the bankruptcy, we survived, we've gone through COVID, we're going through COVID. The funny thing about COVID is we've never been busier. So
really?
It's really counterintuitive, but there's still a ton of people with money that want to invest in Stockton. So, the pause button has been pushed in some areas, but in other areas, business is just booming.
Wow.
So, I expect downtown to continue moving right along. And, it's always been a little slower than we wanted, kind of like the Ice Age, but, like the Ice Age, it's heating up all the time.
Okay. Very interesting. And so you mentioned a couple of things that touched on some of the questions I was thinking of asking you. And one of them was, what's piquing the interest for investors right now? And what do you think Stockton can do to keep that interest and momentum going as far as the interest that we have had recently?
Well, for a lot of years, we were a well-kept secret. And we just, every time I would bring an investor downtown, they would look around and go, oh, look at these beautiful buildings. I had no idea, these incredible opportunities existed. So I think that's really why the Downtown Alliance was born 20 years ago, was to get the secret out there so that people could see what we have to offer. And I think, we've done a good job with that. I don't think we're a secret anymore. What was the question again?
Oh, sure. I was just asking how you think we can keep the momentum going for investor interest.
Okay, so getting the word out is one thing. The other thing is, the nice thing right now is we have a niche in the market that is easily filled by a lot of different types of investors. And that is, we have a shortage of residential product. When we went through the bankruptcy, Stockton builders kind of quit building. So there were no new apartments, no new homes built, no new residential product added. And yet people kept moving here from Oakland and from Sacramento and from the Bay, from San Francisco. And so we still have this high demand for housing, and yet we don't have enough product. But, and it's a product that rents well. If you have a vacant apartment, you can rent it, and you can rent it for, maybe twice what you could rent an office product for. So that, 2 years ago now, the Bear Paw Shoe Company came down to downtown and bought 3 large buildings that were in pretty rough shape. They renovated one, they turned another one into live-work lofts, and they're about to complete the third one in 30 market rate, beautiful loft apartments. So that, that success, we didn't know when they came down whether people would actually want to live in a market rate apartment downtown. And what we found out is they do. And the interesting thing is it's not just millennials. It's all across, the demographic is all across the board. There are some millennials, there's some young married couples with young kids, there's single moms with kids whose children walk to the downtown schools, there's retired gals from Roseville, there's people that work in Oakland and live here and commute to their jobs. So it's really been all across the board demographic of people that live here. So now that opens up, now that it's shown that if you build it, we can fill it. It opens up a lot of new projects for residential conversion in downtown. And there's a lot of those kind of buildings that we don't really have a robust office market. And until we get more residential people, we don't have a robust retail market, but we have a hot residential market. So that gives investors confidence to come in and say, I can buy this building, I can convert it into some sort of residential market rate housing, and I can fill it. So I think that's the next push for downtown. And that fills out the picture. We have government tenants, we have office users, we have a business district, we've got we've got some makers, market users, artists, some artisans, but the residential fills it out. It makes the restaurants healthy. It makes retail able to survive. So that's really what we need to focus on in the next decade.
Excellent. That's an excellent point. And do you think these new projects like Grandview Village and the Calmaine Apartments, like how do you think that will impact downtown? What kind of effect do you think that's going to have? You touched a little bit on the restaurant support. Is there anything else that you can see that this will really bring to downtown and enhance it as a space?
Well, one of our favorite sayings at the office is density is not a four-letter word. You need density. You can't, the problem with our downtown is it's very spread out, and you have a pocket of good activity followed by several blocks of nothing, another pocket of activity. We have to connect the dots, and what connects the dots is density. And we are a walkable downtown, but you got to put your walking shoes on, and it's not just a few blocks, it's 20 blocks each way. So I think the more residential units that we can fill in, we have people walking their dogs at night. We bring safety to the neighborhood. We have people that want their kids to walk to the two excellent charter schools located in downtown. The restaurants survive. The brew pubs start to become healthy. We get more entertainment. The Weber Point Park gets used. We can, you can walk to the arena. You can walk to the marina and have a boat there and go out on the Delta. I mean, there's so much activity that could happen when people feel safe and comfortable and they live here and this is their turf, that, I think we just need more density downtown.
I agree with you, definitely, especially in the evening time. As you know, we have the 9 to 5 crowd and then it clears out at 5. So I'm very excited to see how the residential units are going to enhance that nightlife piece.
Yes.
Okay. And so now I want to go back and pivot to what comment you made about COVID and how it's been really busy for you guys from an interest standpoint. I kind of was curious as well, how has the pandemic affected property management as far as you can see? Because I know, some tenants are having difficulty meeting their rent in some cases. I was just wondering what struggles you've seen there.
Because 99% of what I do is commercial, I'm not all that familiar with the COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act is for residential tenants.
Mhm.
So the commercial tenants have also been impacted, and
Yeah.
that I'm familiar with, and that there's no like relief package for them. But we have been working, all the landlords have been working with the tenants, and the way they've worked with them is through a rent reduction, or a rent abatement, or in some cases, turning it into a loan conversion, or allowing them to sublet. So the landlords have been very gentle with tenants. If you want to keep your tenant, you work with them. They still, there's no relief where they don't have to pay their rent like the residential tenants. What I've been aware of is the landlords for residential tenants have been very impacted because no relief for them. They still have to pay their mortgages, and a lot of them are mom and pop landlords. So, I can't really, it's a complex issue, the COVID, and I know the bare bones of the Tenant Relief Act, that, the tenant has to file a declaration, and they have to prove either medical or job loss or income loss. I think from March 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2020, they did not have to pay any rent. I think from September through January, they have to pay at least 25% of their rent. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that landlords are allowed to even start eviction process or through small claims until March of next year. But I would check with a real estate attorney, because that's really not what I do.
Yeah. So. That's I'm actually very happy to hear that our property owners are working with their business tenants, and being flexible with that. I'm really happy to hear that they've been able to try to work something out to keep the businesses here, because it would be really, really disappointing to lose the businesses that we have here now, so that I'm really glad that they're working on that.
I don't know how the restaurants are going to survive. They were functioning Monday through Friday as it is, which is hard for a restaurant. They really look to Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning brunches. And so it was tough to begin with for restaurants. I hope that they are able to weather the storm, but I think what I was reading, that 53% of all restaurants nationwide will not come back. So, I don't know how that's going to rebound. Hopefully we'll all support our local restaurants. And
yes, get takeout, everybody.
Big.
Okay, and my last question about the pandemic is, do you see any kind of silver lining for the downtown real estate market specifically when it comes to the pandemic? Like any opportunities that have arisen?
I think the reason why we're busy with investors is the economy. And sadly, it's, the haves and have-nots it's becoming wider than ever. But yes, people have money. They don't really want to, the stock market is volatile at the moment. They're not going to get any money putting it in a bank. So that leaves real estate. And, Stockton still is undervalued real estate. If you're living in the Bay Area and you see what you can buy in Stockton for the same amount of money, it's very inviting. We still are a good deal for most investors. So, they're still interested. They're still looking to buy. And, we still have tenants that want to rent. So, I think that's the silver lining for Stockton, is that there's not a lot of places that people with income, with ready money can put it. And Stockton is a good place for that.
We are ripe. We are ripe and ready. Awesome. Okay, so my next question is going to be more about the properties in downtown. So when it comes to historic buildings, which is what you said is Cort Companies' kind of specialty, so like what kind of unique challenges arise when you're like selling or redeveloping or managing historic properties? What are some interesting things we should know?
One of the big problems is, or not problem, but it's a challenge, is that a lot of the property owners are out of town owners. So unless you have a very easy kind of Class A property, it's hands-on management. And, a lot of them are value add properties where the property owner's coming in and they're going to do a project, and they may not be familiar with working with the building department and, Stockton city issues. So they have to learn all that. That's where the Downtown Alliance and you, Courtney, have been very helpful with helping investors navigate through the process. The live work, you did a wonderful live work
Presentation.
presentation on how, if you want to do live work in your property, how to navigate through that. So, they do need help in those areas. And, one of the missing pieces is a really good property management company in downtown Stockton that can wrap their arms around and meet, the key guy to cut a new key, or, oh, the light went out. There's a lot of that goes on with any property, but especially with a historic property. And we could really use a good property management company that specializes in the downtown. And there's a lot of out of town property owners that would definitely use their services.
Okay. I know that you had mentioned that in another conversation we had, I think maybe a year or so ago. And I'm kind of curious, do you know which companies that property owners use now, or are there any that they can use?
I only know of one, which is the Rule Building. They've used Lodi Property Management, and I think they're happy with their services. Other than that, I don't know any. I don't know of any property management companies that are working in downtown.
Wow. So definitely a gap there.
You want to call us, because we can hook you up with some owners.
There you go. So hopefully you're listening if you're a property manager. Okay. And so another question I have about historic buildings, which downtown historic buildings do you think have had like the most inspiring transformations, to where you were just amazed by the results? You're like, wow, this turned out so beautiful.
Okay, so there's a number of them.
Yeah.
I remember, the Crest building, which is the SH Crest, a beautiful like five and dime store, and they're all over the country, and communities have turned them into all kinds of things. But this was a particularly beautiful transformation. It was empty. It had been vacant for decades. The last tenant was the World Wildlife Museum. So it was never opened. It was storage. So you'd go in the Crest and these, dark, gloomy corridors, and you see all these stuffed dead animals everywhere. And so that was kind of the last tenant in there. And Dan bought it and turned it. He said, "What should we do with this?" So we thought, let's make it the Crest Legal Center. So he just sort of named it that. And Meath and Pereira was the very first tenant, and they're a law firm. And they waited. They said, "We love the building. We'll wait until you fix it up." So they were the first tenant, and then gradually it began to fill in with more attorneys, and the law library and the bar association was a tenant then, and it was a beautiful restoration. And he kept a lot of the original floors, and did a little museum display of things that we found in the building, and it's really a stunning building. That was a nice restoration. Some other interesting ones were, maybe the buildings weren't so exciting, but the use was exciting. And that was the two schools. And so when the schools came downtown, it's Stockton Collegiate International Baccalaureate, and the second one is Team Charter. And Stockton Collegiate was the first one. They're kindergarten through 12th grade, the IB school. it transformed downtown. It was vacant. It was kind of a ghost town. There were businesses, but not a lot of people on the sidewalk. When they brought their kids downtown, all of a sudden they the streets were flooded with kids. You'd see them walking over to Weber Point Park with their balls and their hockey
goal nets.
nets, and they sort of took ownership of the downtown. And then the second school, Team Charter, they opted to go on the really eastern edge of what was then considered safe downtown. And there was a lot of hue and cry from the community of, the children shouldn't be in downtown and it's not a safe environment for them. And they the funny thing is they made it a safe environment. They brought 800 kids from kindergarten to 8th grade. They had people out on the sidewalk, a security guy on the sidewalk walking the kids back and forth. They they made a great playground outside for the kids. They had wraparound services from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it really, the influx of those two schools not only transformed the old buildings, one was the Team Charter, that was an old J.C. Penney building, which Dan bought at that time and turned it into the Superior Court Family Law Building, which was one great transformation. And when they moved over to the new courthouse, Team Charter moved in, which was a second great transformation. And it not only transforms the buildings, it transforms the whole community. So the sad thing right now with COVID is we really miss seeing those kids. I think there's about 3,000 students downtown. And
that is a huge number.
Huge number. They love downtown. They own downtown. They are not downtown. They intend to occupy downtown with their businesses when they get older. And that is really what it takes, is to start them young, to make them feel comfortable, instead of building these schools on the fringes of our community where they never get to interact with anything. These kids, they know who Weber was. They know where north, south, east, west is. They know what the waterfront is all about. They understand what downtown is all about and what their town is all about. And they have honestly been the biggest transformation in downtown.
That's amazing. Yeah,
they're exciting. But nothing like the kids.
the kids make it. The kids invigorate it.
Yeah.
It's so cute on their lunch breaks or after school. I see them getting pizza from Alfalfa's, or I did when they were in session. I'm like, wow, Alfalfa's must do great. Pizza by the slice. I would buy that every day.
I miss having the kids.
Awesome. Amazing. So another question I have is, are there any properties currently out there for sale that you think are just they have so much potential for an investor coming in, or something that you've just been watching for years and you're like, wow, if someone could just put a little bit of investment into this, it could be something amazing for downtown? Are there any properties you feel that way about?
There is, and it's really I really think the downtown, we have these grand ideas of let's do a huge restoration of downtown, but the reality is, and maybe it's just my perception of the reality, but my perception is you have to do it block by block. And there is a block right now that has had a lot of investment on it that is ready to go gangbusters. And that is the 500 block of Main Street. Mm-hmm. And so on one end, you've got Trail Coffee Roastery and Via, and it's such a cool place. Sadly, it's not 100% open right now, but when it is open, they have the parklet outside and the actual roastery, and everybody who is anybody in Stockton wanted to be seen there. And plus the food and coffee is great. So you've got that as an anchor. Across the street, you've got a 30,000 square foot beautiful building that is going to be 30 loft apartments. the Calmaine building. So that anchors one end of the block. The other end of the block is Teen Charter, which is, 60,000 square feet of school and plus another school across the street and plus, a playground and plus, plus, plus. So that anchors the other end. Across the street from that, you've got the Hotel Terry, which is a, 30,000 square foot building that is for sale. Granted, that one is a huge project. So that one is going to take someone with a team that's ready to go in and turn that into residential conversion. Next to that, in the middle of the block, is the Rule building. And that one is one that's ripe. It's actually just put on the market. It is for sale. The ground floor, a few years back, an architect from Santa Barbara bought that building. And and I said, what are you doing here from Santa Barbara? What's the deal? And he said, everything in Santa Barbara is fixed up, bought up, fixed up, and leased up. There's no opportunities in Santa Barbara. So bought the Rule. He took the ground floor, 4 units on the ground floor, commercial units, and he fixed those up and rented them. And then his wife said, honey, I'm tired of you going to Stockton every weekend. So at that point, he sold it. So the current owner has done another rehab of the ground floor spaces. And those 4 are full and fully leased. The current owner also done the plan, engaged an architect and a structural engineer, done the plans for 12 residential units on the upper floors. And that building at one time was a Druids Hall. So it has some really beautiful lodge spaces with super high ceilings and 10 2-bedroom, 2-bath units and 2 studios. And it's been approved the plans have been approved by the city. The plans are ready to pick up. So for someone that wanted to come in, bring their crew, get the plans and start building, that one is a ripe opportunity on a block that's healthy, has had a lot of investment already and has room for more investment. That's a really good block that I think is an excellent opportunity for someone.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I totally agree. There's so much momentum in that area. And then you have the Heritage Center kind of close by. There's like stuff to do around it, the deliberation room and things like that. So that would be amazing if someone can come in and just do those conversions for both the Hotel Terry and the property that you were just speaking about, the Rule building. Very cool. Okay, thank you. So another question I have is about, since you you meet with the property owners when they're first buying the building, and you probably walk them around downtown, and you kind of hear from them what they experience as a new property owner. So what are some of the common frustrations that you hear about from these investors when they first kind of buy their building?
I think it's going to be, and I don't want to say anything against the city, because I know that their interest is in, health and safety, and they have to be, strict about that. But, it's tough. There's a lot of requirements, fire, life, health, safety, those are tough requirements for historic properties to be able to meet. Thankfully, we have the historic building codes, which are a little more gentle on these historic properties. But, as far as the main things, you still have to comply. So those can be tricky for historic buildings. And, so far the city's been very helpful about workarounds where, you simply can't comply. And then it hasn't stalled out any development. It's made it tricky and made it challenging, but so far, it hasn't stalled it out. So, and I think that's that's challenging for any community with new build, and especially with renovating older buildings. I think, you know, what the fun part for me is when an investor comes and wants to buy a building. My fun is I look at downtown like a jigsaw puzzle, and you know, every new use, every new tenant, every new investor is like a piece. And it's like, oh, you know, I got a piece, like this, we're over. You know, it's all about filling in this picture of a vibrant and colorful downtown. And each of the pieces is important because you can't have a full puzzle completed without every piece filled in. So for me, the fun, you know, I've got this space, find me a tenant. And, you know, the fun thing about downtown spaces is they're very malleable. So like a J.C. Penney, it can become a you know, courthouse. It can become a school. They can become so many different things that they're reusable. And it's, you know, it's the ultimate recycling because just fix it up in a different way and it's reusable. And our zoning, CD zoning, allows for a lot of different uses. So that's my fun part, is finding a new use for that building or that space. And that's where I take my pleasure. And I wanted to say something about downtown Stockton, which I think is different from real estate maybe anywhere else. And it is that it's not only me, I see it with everyone, it becomes a mission. It becomes almost a, you know, spiritual exercise. It's, you know, bringing it back to life is part of a purpose-driven life. And I see it with, you know, even the kids. They take it as their own. It almost has a life of itself, where it's very important to them that this downtown comes to life again. And I don't know if that's true for other parts, working in other areas of real estate, if it's so immensely satisfying to work here. And, you know, and it's not only the locals, because I see new investors, they get infected with the same. So I just had to add that.
Yes, that is beautiful. And I think I know what you're talking about a little bit. I see that with people who do, like, they come from out of town, or even some people in town who like have big dreams and they buy one of these properties and then they're just attached to it. They're like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna make it happen, it's gonna happen. You know, it's just keep trying and trying and trying. So I think that's a very interesting take on how maybe downtown Stockton real estate's a little different. It's ignites passion in people.
It does.
Okay, so I have just a couple more questions for you. I would like to know about pricing, and if you have any advice for property owners when it comes to thinking about lease rates.
Pricing, as far as buying and selling a business, it is pin the tail on the donkey, because there are no comparable properties. Every property is unique. And, you know, the property values are from anywhere from, you know, $29 a square foot to $200 a square foot. And, you know, so pricing is really an art rather than a science. It's not your, you know, concrete tilt up, you know, where there's A, B, and C of the same product. There isn't. So it's very hard, you know, and a lot of them are value add, so you can't really use an income approach. So again, it's a work in progress as far as pricing, and you just have to keep adjusting prices up or down as you see, you know, the market go. As far as rental, that's a little bit more stable, and you know, the rents 25 years ago, the rents were 50 cents a square foot. you know, 25 years later, they haven't really increased all that much.
No.
They're around $1 a square foot-ish for you know, type B properties. Type A properties, we don't have a lot of those. Class A properties, those are more like $1.50. If you're on the waterfront, you have great views. Those can be, you know, up to $2 a square foot. The residential product is really around $2 a square foot, and it's going up all the time because there's so much demand. So that's why, you know, at this point, converting office space into residential is a good opportunity.
Yes.
So sorry, I can't be more specific on pricing.
No, that is perfect. That gives us an idea of the trend, I guess, going on with lease rates here, which is they've kind of gradually gone up, but they're nowhere near what the rates are of some other places in other cities. They're still like you said, $1. It's very, very affordable.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any resources or programs that you could recommend to new property owners in downtown or new businesses? Are there any places you refer them to?
There are, and
Okay.
Nicole Snyder, who's with our economic development department, is a great resource. And, you know, she, a number of people have asked for incentive programs. She's got a sheet of, you know, many incentive programs from the city. In my opinion, the very best one that has been utilized over and over and over again for decades is the facade grant program. And it's actually a facade loan program, but it operates as a grant. And that is, you know, $10,000, the first $10,000 free. The second $10,000 is matching dollar for dollar. So if the property owner puts in $10,000, the city, this program gives them another $10,000. And that is to be used for anything on the facade of the building. Windows, paint, you know, new brick, awnings, anything but signage, anything that can be seen from the street is allowable. And that has fixed up a lot of facades in downtown. And it's a 5-year forgivable. So every year the loan is forgiven 1/5. And at the end of 5 years, the loan is 100% forgiven as long as you keep the property in good shape. And then you can apply for another one. So it's been a great program for downtown. You know, there are others. There are storefront beautification. There's the downtown infrastructure infill. That's, you know, if you're a little bit of a bigger investor in doing actual street improvements. And there's waivers on your building fees, which you know, Bear Paw has gotten some hefty waivers on some of their fees. What would help a lot in the residential conversion projects is the school impact fees are very expensive. And, you know, I know that one of the hopes is that we can work with the Board of Trustees for Stockton Unified to maybe mitigate some of those fees as we go along.
That would be great.
Yeah. But there are programs, and the city, you know, Nicole is a great resource for all of the programs that the city can offer.
Yes, commercial facade grant is an exciting program.
It is.
It really is. All you have to do is, you know, go through the application process and do the work to like the desired specifications and keep it clean, you know, but then you get some of that.
Right. And if you happen to have a corner building, if you have a building on a corner, you can get twice the grant.
Right? You get extra, more space, more yardage. Yes, I totally agree. And Nicole is amazing. So if you are a property owner and you don't know who Nicole is, we can put that link for you in the comments because she is a great resource for downtown. Thank you. Okay, so my next question is just generally, what do you kind of envision the downtown will look like in 5 years? What do you think it will be like?
Provided that we get some solutions for COVID, I think we're just, we're the turtle, we're not the hare. And, the turtle keeps marching on. And so I just see more incremental progress. And it's not like lighting the world on fire. It is, a healthy restaurant community, a healthy office market, a healthy restaurant and pub and after hour market. And, filling in the dots so that we're not isolated from each other, so that someone who lives at the Cal-Maine walks to the arena at night to watch, a game or a show, and comes back and has a nightcap at the Fed, or, has a signature cocktail drink at the deliberation room, and, sees their neighbors out walking their dogs, and then, goes home and looks out and sees the twinkling lights of downtown Stockton from their, third floor loft. That's what I'm envisioning. And when I was a little kid, I lived in New York, and out our window, there was a beautiful view. And somewhere around, my teenage years, the telephone company came and put up these telephone poles and big lines that cut right.
No.
And it was so irritating to me. And, I'd sit there with my mom and she would be perfectly fine. And I'm like, Mom, doesn't that bother you? She looks at me and says, of course not. My eyes unsee the wires. I think that's a little bit of our challenge, is to unsee the wires, to see what could be, to see the good things and build on the good things, and not always be looking at, well, there's, litter on the street, and there's, this, and there's that. And it's like, unsee that, look to the positive, and let's build on that. And, I think we're well on our way in Stockton.
That's a beautiful comparison, and I really love that. Love that. Unsee the wires. I like that. I could take that approach to downtown, definitely. So is there anything else that you would just want any people to know about downtown, whether it's the real estate market, whether it's something else going on that you think is just important for people to know about?
Going back to the emotion part of it, there's a place for you here. There's a there. And there's so many communities across America where there's no there. And it's, you never know where you are because it's anywhere USA. That is not the case in downtown Stockton. We are a gritty city. We're an authentic city. And there's room for your dreams here. And we try to support each other's dreams. And it's a lovely, underrated, incredible community. And I think very highly of it.
Excellent. And thank you for your role that you've played in downtown, the redevelopment, coordinating with investors, serving on the DSA board. Like, you've been so involved and such a key piece of continuing to work at getting the revitalization to take off. So I really appreciate all the work that you have done, Mahala. And thank you for answering my questions. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and see if we have any viewer questions. Does that sound okay with you? All right. Okay, so I have a question. It is from Jessica. She's asking, are there any downtown living spaces that you can recommend for college students?
Yes, I can. They should be ready in about 30 days. And it's loft apartments. They are 1 and 2 bedroom loft apartments. They're It's actually a historic building. You wouldn't know it because it's been kind of remodeled and covered up over the years. It was a beautiful theater in the late 1800s. It is now the Cal Main building, and it looks rather modern. The loft apartments are loft style, high ceilings, open plan, modern interiors, very nicely finished, and those will be available in about 30 days.
Wow. Okay. I'm glad to hear it's coming up. That is very soon and long awaited. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So, okay, excellent. Thank you. And the next question is, what are your thoughts now that a lot of people are working from home? Do you think that there's a future for additional live work spaces in downtown?
The live work spaces turned out to be rather difficult.
Okay.
Just because the requirements for residential and commercial are somewhat different, and you have to meet both of them for live work spaces. And I don't know that anyone is the people that actually are leasing those live work spaces, I don't know if they're actually using them as live work. I think they're mostly using them as homes. So there is a concept, and Jasmine can tell you more about it, but there's a concept for that block that I was talking about on Main Street to be a live work block where you live at the Cal Main, and you across the street with Via, you have your co-working space with, and the trail, and then around the corner on American Street, the Teen Charter was looking at some point abandoning that street, which is already, it's already blocked on one side. So abandon that one block of the street and turning that into an outdoor area for study and for the kids to sit and recreate, and the neighborhood to recreate, so that it's an outdoor, green area for the neighborhood. So it's more of a live work block concept than a live work apartment concept. And I think for downtown, that might end up being a better fit because it gets you out of your space and close to your space, but you still are socializing and in an area where you're not stuck at home all the time. I know for the first few months of COVID, when I was working from home, it was not for me. I don't want to see every day.
Plus, you have a beautiful office, so yeah, you probably missed it.
I think maybe we're what is it? Kurt Vonnegut calls us, we're dancing animals, and we need to see each other. And I think having sort of that kind of live work concept might be better suited to us as humans.
Excellent, very interesting. I like that, more of shared spaces.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question. The question is from Jessica. She says, what kind of businesses would you like to see in downtown in the future?
Oh. Well, there's a lot of women downtown that work for the county, that work for the city. There aren't a lot of services for women. There's, you can now get your hair cut at Unico, and that's beautiful, great, fancy, lovely space. But we'd like more things. I'd like to be able to go out at lunch and buy a pair of shoes, or some clothes, or I don't get my nails done, but I'm sure some people do get their nails done. So or get a massage, or get things where women can spend money. Retail shops, yes, we would love more retail shops. Any kind of services for the kids. I know Courthouse Plaza is a huge success in downtown, and that recently, like a month ago, purchased by Tony Yaden was eyeing it for his organization, Parents by Choice. And it's a 68,000 square foot building that was pretty much unutilized. It was like a ghost town. And he saw it as a potential home for his organization. And he ended up buying it, closed escrow on it last month. And he immediately has started, he put a new heating and air conditioning system in. He's put a lot of new tenants in. And on Monday, he's bringing down 65 employees to occupy the upper floor of that building.
Yes.
So that's another corner piece where, you know, we took a basically, you know, blighted, unused building and has brought it completely back to life. And what he's been putting in there is things that are going to benefit the school kids. There's a music teacher in there that offers all kinds of musical instruments which is be perfect for the kids once they're back in school. They can come over and have private music instruction in the afternoon. So, and there's another hair salon that's opening up in that building. So there's a lot of retail opportunity in that building. You know, and then anything that brings density is great.
Yes.
Just add people. We just need to add people. The more people we have downtown, the more the retail can survive, the more the restaurants can survive, and the more we feel comfortable. We see a lot of, you know, people on the sidewalk. It makes it you know, you can people watch, and it makes it a fun environment.
Yes, I totally agree. More retail, please. And the last question that we have is, what are some pros for businesses like that you can think of that is attractive for them, or like would make it attractive for them to move into a historic building?
The cost has always been the driving factor for downtown. We've always been less than everywhere else. And we don't do, you know, to do a triple net lease is very uncommon in downtown. It's mostly modified gross, which means you just pay for your utilities. So, you know, that's a lot easier for tenants than a triple net lease, especially if you're just starting out. And, you know, we've always been the first stop for people that, you know, are entrepreneurs that are opening up, you know, business for the first time, or coming out of their garage, or coming out of their, you know, their home office. And it's an easy environment to start off in, and it's an easy environment to expand in. So you can start small and incrementally grow your business. And there's, you know, because of the passion of downtown, we really try to use each other and support each other's businesses. And, you know, there's no, you know, competitive, you know, I'm gonna
Don't go there. Yeah.
We all boats, all boats, and it's a friendly environment.
Definitely. And I know I was amazed learning when I first started working here and going around to some of the properties to find out what the lease rates were. And then I went to the California building, and they were like, oh yeah, we have some that are like $200, $300 a month. Yep. And I was shocked. Like, yep. That is so affordable for someone who just needs a little office space, you know.
We have office floor towers starting at $150 a month.
Yes.
And that's how you need to get started. And you can
it's
always
just perfect. Well, awesome. So this is that is the end of the questions that we have from our viewers. And so I would just like to say again, thank you so much, Mahala, for being our guest today. I learned a lot about what's going on in downtown real estate right now. And I hope that our viewers learned a little bit about things to come in the future, things to get excited about and to anticipate. And I thank you, viewers, for joining us. So thank you again, Mahala. I really, really appreciate everything that you have done for downtown and for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah. So everyone, I'm going to go ahead and end the live But I want to remind you that this video is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is at Downtown Stockton. And also, you've already found us on Facebook if you're watching this live, but we have an Instagram page as well, which is at Downtown Stockton. And we also have Twitter at Downtown STKN. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. I hope that you all have a beautiful day. Have a great day downtown. Thank you.